Hello there. We're back at it again. So, if you're wondering why everything looks the same as a video that's coming out later, it's because I'm recording two videos in the same day. So, hello. Welcome to a tier list video / ranking video. We're going to rank all the Soulsborne games. Just to kind of tell you how this goes, and I talk about it in the other video where I rank every single From Software boss. It's 2 hours long. So look forward to that. That'll be up later this week, probably on Sunday, I think. And then tomorrow we're gonna stream a very fun challenge that I think you guys are really gonna enjoy. So yeah. Anyway, let's get into it. So just to kind of explain here, S is I would consider it one of the greatest games of all time. And the best in the series. A is a great game, a fantastic game. B is a game that I think is good. I think a good game. C is a game that I'm indifferent to. D is a game I don't like. And F is a game that I hate. I can tell you that we're not going to be using all of these tiers. I won't spoil, but yeah, we're not going to be using all these tiers. And also, let me get this out of the way. When I talk about Demon Souls, I'm talking about just the Demon Souls remake. And when I talk about Dark Souls 2, I'm talking about Dark Souls 2, Scholar of the First Sin. I'm not including the original Scholar of the First Sin. These were rated T for teen? Were they really? Anyway. And when I talk about Dark Souls, I'm talking about Dark Souls Remastered, okay? That's just to get all that out of the way. And we're going to go in chronological order, so the release order. Okay, Demon Souls, the very first Souls game. I think this game is fantastic. Really, really fantastic. If you would have asked me 3 or 4 days ago, I would have put it in B. But I've actually been watching Peeve. Shout out Peeve. He doesn't need much shout out for me. He doesn't even know I exist. I was watching Peeve play Demon Souls, and I was reminded by all the unique things that this game has, and it makes for, certainly, I think, whether you love this game or think it's whatever, or maybe you hate it for whatever reason, I don't think there's any arguing that it's definitely the most unique Soulsborne game, in terms of its structure and, you know, all the weird, quirky things it has going on in it. It's definitely one of the strangest games they've made. And I love this game. The interesting thing about this game is the difficulty comes from the areas, not the bosses. Generally, the bosses are mostly pretty easy. They're either have some sort of puzzle or some sort of weakness you can exploit. So in that regard, it makes it very, very different. And I say the areas are more challenging because you don't have traditional checkpoints. You have one checkpoint, you have one archstone, and you have to, like, you know, find shortcuts and stuff to get back and stuff like that. It's a very different kind of game. And I love this game. Like, if you, again, see, there's something, and I just remembered it. Fuck. The thing that drags this game down, you know what? I think I actually am gonna put it in B. I think even with all the cool shit in it, the thing that drags this game down for me is, again, I think some of the bosses are kind of whatever. A lot of the bosses are kind of whatever. Some are just really shitty. One in particular is really shitty. Dragon God, I think, is awful. Really, really lame. But he at least looks cool. The thing that really kills this game for me is the weapon upgrade system. I hate how there's a billion different stones. Just stop. Let's not do this. Don't do this to me. Like, I think that the fact that there's a billion different stones is really shitty. I think Dark Souls 3 and Elden Ring have done the infusion system the best for sure. Because you upgrade it with one thing, maybe another thing. Like in DS3, you have like Demon Titanite and Twinkling Titanite and stuff, but that, you know, it's not as egregious. Because in this, it's like sharp stone shards, sharp stone chunks, sharp stone, pure sharp stone, fucking large sharp stone shards, and then you have large hard stone shards, and fucking cloud stone, and fucking it's crazy. It's too much. Don't even get me started on the blade stone shit, the pure blade stone shit that people had to go through. It's a bit ridiculous, and yeah, I don't like the weapon upgrade system at all. I think it severely limits build variety, and it makes it really, really annoying. Now this is the take where a lot of people are gonna click off this video. I can see it now, I'm sure. Dark Souls. Now let me explain myself. Dark Souls 1. I got beef with this game. I think Dark Souls 1 is so fucking overrated. Let me talk about what I like first. Literally everything from the beginning of the game to Anor Londo is masterpiece. In my opinion, arguably the best, if not some of the best shit FromSoft has ever made. It's peak gaming. The fact that you don't have fast travel, and you know, it makes traversing the world so much more interesting, and you get to really know the world like the back of your hand. And the bosses up until that point are awesome. The level design is peak. It's even Blighttown. I like Blighttown. I think all the level design is awesome. Again, it's like peak From Software. But here's the problem: everything after that fucking sucks. And I mean, you can fight me if you want, but not to mention, I mean, like, there's Capra Demon and a whole bunch of other bullshit in this fucking game. But everything after ONS is awful. I don't like any of it. I'm sorry, I don't. The Duke's Archives suck. I think the fact that you have to die to Seath is really lame. Just to put you in this weird, like, prison thing. I mean, yeah, it's kind of cool, like, doing that, like, prison break thing, but whatever. I don't like the Duke's Archives. I especially do not like the fucking Bed of Chaos. Lost Izalith sucks. Tomb of the Giants fucking sucks. Seath, all those bosses are not good either. Bed of Chaos, in my opinion, is probably the worst boss in video game history. I think Seath is a whatever boss. I think Nito's a whatever boss. Pinwheel. This is fucking Pinwheel. I think that last half is bad. Now, it's saved by Gwyn. It's saved by Gwyn. The final confrontation with Gwyn is really great, even though it's pretty easy, because you just, if you're like half decent, you can parry him to death. And you know, it's not just the last half of the game either. If it was just the last half of the game, I'd probably bring the game down to an 8. But there's something else that makes this game awful. The way it controls, the way the game plays, it is so fucking clunky. It is absurdly clunky. The fact that you can't omnidirectional roll, it is insane. You can only roll in 4 directions. You can roll forward, backward, left, and right. You can't even roll like diagonal. You don't have. It's ass. People shit on Dark Souls 2's movement for like the way the thumbstick works. The fact that you can't, you know, walk around. Like, you don't have a full 360 thing. They'll like analyze it and go, oh, you don't have full 360-degree movement. Yeah, I'd rather have. But you know what you can do in Dark Souls 2? You can omnidirectional roll. And Dark Souls 2 is way less clunky than DS1, in my opinion. I think it controls way better. And you know, we'll get into the DLC in a second. Dark Souls 1's DLC, I think, Sanctuary Guardian is great. Artorias is fucking awesome. I think Manus is kind of bad. I think Manus kind of sucks. I won't get into why because I'll save it for the video tomorrow or on Sunday where I rank the bosses. But I think Manus has a lot of problems. I don't think he fits Dark Souls 1 at all. I don't think he fits the game. The boss itself is cool, but he is held back by these ancient mechanics of Dark Souls 1. If Manus was in Bloodborne or Dark Souls 3 or like Elden Ring, easy S tier. But he's held back. Or maybe like A tier or something. But he's held back. So I made the joke that the ideal way to enjoy Dark Souls 1, here it is. You want to know the best way to enjoy Dark Souls 1? You play everything up until ONS. Everything that you can do up until ONS, do that. Then beat ONS, and then start the Artorias of the Abyss DLC. And then end off on Artorias and stop playing. Just say, all right, that's the game. Let's cut it off here. If you do that, this game is like A tier. Okay? Let's go over that again. And you know, you go in, you play through the game, you fucking get to ONS, you kill ONS, do everything you can before ONS, and then you'll be like a pretty decent level. Then go into the Artorias of the Abyss DLC. Fight Sanctuary Guardian, fight Artorias, and then just say, all right, that's the game. Wow, what a great game. Because then you've experienced the best that Dark Souls 2 or Dark Souls 1 has to offer. And then you don't have to worry about all the bullshit in it. I think it's overhyped. The game as a whole is overhyped, clunky. It's blatantly unfinished in areas. And I think the game is really, really weird. Not in a good way either. Now, with all that bad stuff I just said, you're probably guessing I'm going to put this game in C or D. But I'm not. Because here's the thing. The peaks of this game are like the peaks of the peaks. Peak, not just peak FromSoft, but like peak gaming. So, because of that, I'm going to put it in B. But it's a low, low, low B. Like the lowest you can get. So that's where that is. Now here's where all of you are going to click off the video, leave a dislike, and say I'm an idiot. Dark Souls 2 fucking slaps. The story is far better. Dark Souls 2 has way more to say. I think Dark Souls 2's lore-wise, story-wise, it has far more to say. It has a lot more on its mind. And it takes all of the ideas that Dark Souls 1 had with its story, and it takes them a step further. It takes all those ideas and takes them in a much more, I think, interesting direction. A much more nuanced direction than Dark Souls 1. I think the bosses this game has a lot of great bosses in it. Are there some stinkers? Yeah, abso-fucking-lutely. Skeleton Lords are some of the worst bosses, are like one of my least favorite bosses in the series. Same with the Royal Rat Authority or whatever. But like, dude, Burnt Ivory King's fantastic. Fume Knight is fucking awesome. I think Aldi is really cool. What's his name? Oh shit, Sir Alone. Sir Alone is a masterpiece, a masterful fight. And I know you can say, oh, but that grab attack, just don't get grabbed. No, I will admit it is dumb, and it is a personal preference thing. But and this game has the best PvP. This game has the best PvP in the series. Like, the PvP in Dark Souls 2 is incredible. The mechanics are so in-depth and so interesting, and the build variety in Dark Souls 2 is the best in the series aside from Elden Ring. You could argue it's better than Elden Ring in some degrees, but even that, I don't know. I think that's a bit. I'd say they're on the same level. The build variety in this game is fucking insane. It's so replayable. New Game Plus actually adds new shit to it. Like, there's new enemies, new items. It actually makes the game more replayable and more fun in that way. Bonfire aesthetic is so cool. The fact that allows you to refight bosses and stuff like that. It puts so much power into the player's hands. This game has a hard mode that you can activate if you want. I wouldn't do it. It's hell, in my opinion, but it's there if you want it. I will say, on a first playthrough, when you don't know how to manage like human effigies and how to get infinite life gems and all that stuff, this game can be hell. On a first playthrough, I will say when I first played this game, I was like here or here, okay? But over time, I think Dark Souls 2 is a much better, a deeper, more interesting, and much more fun game than Dark Souls 1. DLC included and everything, of course. And I love Dark Souls 2. All right, now something we can all agree on. Peak. I mean, come on, dude. It's Bloodborne. Do I need to elaborate on this? I feel like I don't have to elaborate on Bloodborne being an S tier, because why do you think this game trends on Twitter every other week? This game's trending on Twitter for asking for a remaster or a remake or a 60 FPS patch or whatever. Bloodborne is tied with another game as my singular favorite game of all time. If I wanted to be technical, I would say my favorite game of all time is the Mass Effect Legendary Edition. But I know some people are like, oh, that's a collection. And I'd be like, oh, fuck you, whatever, it's my favorite. But if you wanted to say my singular favorite game of all time, I'd say it's Bloodborne, and it's tied with something else. And I think Bloodborne is a fucking masterpiece. Probably the best lore in the series. I love Bloodborne's lore. The story is so captivating. Best combat. Alongside another game on this list. It's you know, the quick stepping, the rally mechanic, how fast you heal with the blood vials. It's all encouraging aggression, and just fast-paced, smooth gameplay. And the trick weapons are so cool. I love this game. Does it have parts of it that kind of stink? Yes, I have some issues with Bloodborne, actually. No, and for the record, none of these games are perfect. None of them. Even the ones I put in S tier. I can overlook these flaws, and I still love these games. They're my favorites of all time, but like, no FromSoft game is perfect. Let's be honest. I think the Chalice dungeons are kind of ass, admittedly. I think the way the weapon upgrade system kind of works is weird with all the blood gems and shit. I don't know. I hate that you have to like. I wish it was just like the infusion system from Dark Souls 3. I think that'd be way more easy instead of having to find like 3 flame gems that you have to farm for hours to get the right ones. I don't know. I think it's really weird. I think it's time wasting and kind of lame. But even that, and the fact that it's 30 FPS as well, but none of that takes away from the fucking thought-provoking and masterful story that Bloodborne tells. And all the other good shit I said. Some incredible bosses as well. Garamond, Orphan of Kos, Lady Maria, fucking Father Gascoigne, Shadows of Yharnam, are some of my favorites. Ludwig, fantastic video game. Tied with another game as my favorite video game of all time. I fucking love Bloodborne. Please, for the love of God, give us a remake where maybe you can fix these issues. Some of these issues I had. And make it even better. All right, after Bloodborne, we got Dark Souls 3. And Dark Souls 3 is another game I would say is a 10 out of 10 S tier fucking masterpiece. What an ending. What an ending to a trilogy. One of my, it's right up there with another hot take. Right up there with Mass Effect 3 as my favorite ending to a trilogy of games. That final moment, well, in the base game, in that final moment with the Firekeeper, when you get the official, the canon ending, we call it, where you tell her, she's like, and you find her eyes, she's like, but Firekeepers aren't supposed to have eyes, and she gets the eyes, and she's like, I see a world without fire. Ashton, what is this your wish? And you're like, yes. And then it changes the music in Firelink Shrine, and then you actually summon her, and she gives that speech. She's like, the first flame quickly fades. That whole like speech she says, one day tiny flames will dance across the darkness, and then the green fades to black. She says, Ashen one, hearest thou my voice still? And it goes back to dark. It just plays the credits. Dude, it's like emotional because like if you know the lore and everything that's happened up until this point, it's like this is the end. We're finally putting an end to this toxic cycle that's gone on for years. It's like saying no to all of it. You're putting away, you are snuffing out the flame for good. And as far as I'm concerned, like this is the end. Like this is the perfect ending to that trilogy. And I know this might be news to some of you, and who knows if it's real or not. But there's been some leaks and rumors about a potential new Dark Souls game. And I'm down for it, but as far as I'm concerned, this is the end of that trilogy. If they want to start a new trilogy that's linked to the Dark Souls universe and is kind of its own thing, sure, that's fine. But I don't think they should try to touch this again. If you're gonna make a new Dark Souls series, leave all this in the past. The flame and the, you know, all that stuff. Leave that the bigger concepts in the past, or you know, like kind of like what Dark Souls 2 did. You know how it's not connected. It's not connected like Gwyn or any of that really that much. I mean, I know it's connected, but you know what I mean. Okay, Sekiro. Yeah, Sekiro, man. Yeah, dude. Now, if you would have asked me a while ago, I would have said this game's like here. Because I appreciated the game, but also I just wasn't very good at it. But also I was like, it's got no replay value. Fuck all that. There's a great video by Lupine OS. It's called Sekiro is Combat Freedom. Look it up. It's really great. It talks about how this game has more variety in it than you realize. This game is a masterpiece. Again, I think the story is really great. Is it as in-depth and interesting as the other games? No. But I think it's really solid. Has alongside... Oh, wait. I didn't talk about Dark Souls 3 enough. Hold on, 1 second. Dark Souls 3... Let me put you up here. Dark Souls 3 also has my... and Sekiro have my two favorite bosses in like gaming. Slave Knight Gale, and then from Dark Souls 3 and Sekiro, Sword Saint Ishin. I want to talk about Gale really quick. You know what? No, I'm not going to talk about Gale. Gale is a whole other thing. Wait till my video on the all bosses thing. I go really in depth as to why I love Gale. But Sekiro, I mentioned earlier that Bloodborne had the best combat system in the series, but there was one other game that I would say is as good, and that's Sekiro. Sekiro's combat system is fantastic. I think it's the best combat system I've ever had in an action adventure game. Because this game's not an RPG. It's not an RPG, it's an action adventure game. It's not even a Soulsborne game. But I'm putting it on the list because, you know, why not? It is a fucking great game. It's so much fun to play. The bosses in it are really great for the most part. It never a dull moment in Sekiro. It's a game that is hard to learn, but very, very fucking hard to learn, but easy to master. I would say like the Soulsborne games are easy to learn, difficult to master. Sekiro is hard as fuck to learn, but once you get it and it clicks, it's really easy to master, I would say. So easy to master where I actually, once I got it, dude, I beat Ishin in 4 tries. Like, I really, like, understood the mechanics by the end of the game, and I was able to beat Ishin in 4 tries. All right, last one, Elden Ring. There it is. Yeah, fucking love this game. I remember when I said Bloodborne was tied with another game as my favorite game of all time. There's that game. Elden Ring. Elden Ring is the culmination. I want to do a video on it, so I'll save my thoughts. I plan on making a video essay on this game at some point, but Elden Ring is the culmination of an entire studio's body of work throughout their entire time as a company, throughout their entire every single idea that they have worked on from Kingsfield onward comes up into this game. Every single idea, it's all here. This is the magnum opus. This is the peak. I know a lot of people are gonna say, oh well, the thing with Elden Ring is, you know, it has the peaks of the peaks, but it also has the lowest of the lows. And I'm like, no, you're talking about Dark Souls 1. The lowest of the lows in Elden Ring are nowhere near the lows of this game. People complain about the mountaintops of the giants. I'd take that any day over any level in the second half of Dark Souls 1. I'm sorry, that's just how I feel. That's just how I feel, man. Elden Ring, it's like there's so many areas in the game that feel like, you know, you're stepping into a painting. Like you see so many areas that look like they were that look so purposeful. And you know, the art direction. So many of the bosses are in my favorite bosses of all time. Like the main bosses, you know, obviously like the dungeon bosses are, you know, they're kind of whatever, sure. But so many of like those main bosses are in my favorite, are in the S tier, S and A tier for me, man. I love this game. The build variety is off the fucking charts. I've put close to 700 hours in this fucking game. I haven't been able to stop. And the reason I think it's my favorite game of all time is, weirdly, it's not just that this game is the culmination of everything that From Software has done with their games in one game. It's also the culmination of everything that I have loved about games since I was a kid. And let's just go over it. I mean, I know it's not, can't believe I'm saying this, but you know, it's a thing that's in the game. Like platforming's in this game, you know what I mean? Like I grew up playing a lot of platformers, and there's like little bits of platforming in the game. Is the platforming as good as like something like Super Mario or something? No, obviously. But you know, it's something that's there. It's got stealth in it, you know, where you can sneak around and stab motherfuckers and distract people with shit. You know, I played a lot of Sly Cooper growing up, so that's obviously there too. You know, obviously the open world. People have said that Elden Ring is more annoying to replay because of the open world, and I disagree. I completely disagree, and I find that take very interesting. Maybe open world games just aren't your thing, and that's totally fine. That's completely okay. They're not for everybody. I'm not gonna sit here and shit on your opinion or whatever. It's whatever. But for me, it's made it more replayable. I love going through this world, dude. And again, I have 700 hours in this game. I still haven't seen everything. And I've gone out of my way to fight every boss. There are still items and spells and things that I'm finding for the first time, still now. Just the other day, I found a tower that I had never seen before. It's the tower where you get, like, Eternal Darkness. Never seen it before. And I was just exploring around and I found it. I was like, oh, shit. Look at that. So yeah, obviously it has like that open world stuff that I've loved ever since I was a kid, you know, with games like Oblivion and Skyrim and, you know, those kinds of games that I grew up playing. And then obviously the final part of that, like that trio, is the Soulsborne combat. And I think out of the Souls games, so like Elden Ring, Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 3, Elden Ring has the best combat and the best combat variety out of those games. If this game had let me tell you what. And this is what they need to do in Elden Ring 2. If they do this in Elden Ring 2, it blows Elden Ring 1 out of the water. Or if they just make a game that does this. What I would have liked for Elden Ring, and this is, you know, me being kind of selfish, because it is already pretty perfect to what I would want. But the only things that could have made Elden Ring better, it's a short list. Natural quick step, like Bloodborne has. So whenever you're locked on, you're quick stepping around like a fucking madman. The grappling hook from Sekiro. That's another thing. The deflection system from Sekiro. And then the rally mechanic from Bloodborne. Oh, and then swimming. That's the other thing. So those 5 things. And then there's some other problems with the game. Again, these games aren't perfect. There's some other problems I have. I have a ton of problems with Elden Ring, dude. Tons. I mainly think, you know, the late game difficulty spike is a bit much. I think certain bosses do a little too much damage, and I think certain regular enemies have so much health and do so much damage. Especially like the Albinaric bowmen have like 4,000 HP, and their arrow attacks can hit you for your entire health bar. That's stupid. That's just dumb. There's that one horn blower dude that blows out a shit ton of bubbles in the Michaela's Halleck tree, and he can literally one-shot you. That's dumb. That's just bad. So there's a lot of imbalance issues that I have, and those are the main issues I have with the game. But they don't take away from it for me. I know a lot of people, I've seen so many videos over the past couple months, I'm sick of seeing them in my sub box. Of course, if you don't like the game, that's totally cool, and I understand. Again, it's not for everybody. But I've seen so many videos over the past couple of months. It's just like, my Elden Ring, my brutally honest critique. I'm just so tired. Like, again, you know, you have your right to do that, and it's fine. Again, the game has problems. They don't bother me that much as other people. And I get it, and I get it. I just love this game, and I hope in Elden Ring 2, if they do one, they polish out some of those issues, add more to it. Like I said, keep everything that was good, and then just add more shit. You know what I mean? But yeah, I think that's gonna be the video. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. And yeah, take it easy, everybody.